This is Andrea Shaw, your 2025 and 6-time Miss Olympia champ. Honestly, she has a pretty underrated physique. I don't think people truly understand how good Andrea is, and how strong her grip is on her own division. Now let's see what's happening over on the men's side of things.
What a fucking piece of shit this guy is. What a loser this guy is. Get the fuck off the Mr. Olympia stage, buddy.
Okay. Thanks.
Honestly, these two divisions and their audiences couldn't be more different. One division's fan celebrates their champion because the champ is so dominant and brings such a great physique. And the other set of fans has Derek Lunsford to look up to, or down to, I guess.
It's just hard, man.
But believe it or not, because of the backlash towards Derek and the reverence of Shaw, I've seen a couple of comparisons between these two come across my Instagram feed, so I decided to make a full video about it. I mean, why not? These are the two main events on the men's and women's side of bodybuilding and the two respective champions. And I think this could be really eye-opening in regards to the utter bullshit happening in the men's open division, especially at the Mr. Olympia event. So let's go ahead and run this comparison. Here is your 2025 Miss Olympia versus the 2025 Mr. Olympia. Remember, if you guys like these types of videos, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Now, I have a couple of disclaimers. This video is not meant to drag anyone down but Derek.
What an asshole this guy is.
I may be sexist, but I'm really not trying to be in this video despite how it may come across. I know this looks like I'm saying Derek can't even beat a girl, but that's not necessarily what I'm going for, although it is a fact to keep in mind. The fact is, women just do have a lower ceiling for physical development compared to men. We know that, so this comparison is a little dumb. And yes, we won't be doing a true comparison today. If Andrea was allowed in the men's open, Derek would easily win despite him being an awful champion. However, that doesn't mean we can't make some observations about the two physiques that stand before us. This isn't even necessarily about who I like more, although I will give my answer to that question at the end of the video. I guess this is a comparison in the true sense of the word. Not a bodybuilding matchup, but we are legitimately looking at these athletes and how they compare and how they contrast. Now, disclaimer number 2 is the sizing. I'm just going to rip the band-aid off. These two could very well actually be the same height. I think Derek is 5'5" max, probably even a little under. Look at him in the lineup, everyone is bigger and taller than him. Now for Andrea, I looked up her height and got many conflicting answers, so I just went off of the pics I found, and I was lucky enough to find one of her standing next to Shawn Ray, who is about 5'6".
Like 6 or 7, bro.
And in this pic, she's almost the same height as him, maybe 5'4" at the least, so really, she should be around Derek's height. But since this isn't a real comparison, I didn't spend too much time on it. Again, we're just here to make observations. And I want to note that all these photos are from Gannicus Original on Instagram. These are edited photos, but they're edited by the same group, probably using the same presets for most of the event, especially when we're comparing both of these athletes at the night show. So we should have a pretty even playing field, all things considered. Anyway, let's discuss the actual pose now. This pose, or at least the arms portion of the pose, was the entire reason for me doing this video. I think most of us saw those brutal posts floating around Instagram comparing Andrea and Derek's arms, so let's start there. Derek's arms quite literally pain me to look at. They're puffy, they look inflamed, and clearly he's been using some help to build his arms, if you catch my drift. Andrea, on the other hand, has every quality you could want. She doesn't have the biggest arms, but she has deep bi and tri separation, and just actual bicep peaks.
This is the fucking quality we get. Shit, this guy is.
She even has separation in the biceps. We can see both heads of the bicep muscle splitting. We can't even get a single vein out of Derek's arms, much less any actual separation. The legs are another thing I want to touch on for this pose. We all heard from Tyler and Derek's limited pool of fans that his legs were improved and he was bigger overall, and that's why he won the show. Well, bigger is not always better, and Derek's physique is the epitome of that statement. Now, disclaimer, this is Derek from finals where he was at his worst. I understand that, but let's not make excuses for him. The judges still saw this package and still rewarded the overall physique with the literal Mr. Olympia title. And if this half of the show was part of the winning equation, he should have no problem using it in this comparison. But anyway, pound for pound, Andrea's legs are actually better than Derek's. The first reason is the skin quality. The 3D muscle pushes right up against the paper-thin skin on Andrea, and that allows us to see the details both inter and intramuscularly. Derek's legs are two blurry blobs by comparison. If you ask me, and I'm not a scientist, but it looks like he compensated with diuretics to make up for his piss-poor condition. And this does track with some of the rumors we've heard about what happened to Derek backstage at night 2 of the show, but I digress. Clearly, you can see Andrea's legs are just actually worth their salt. They're not just big for the sake of being big. Every muscle is there. She has a sartorius muscle that even Chris Cormier would be jealous of. The heads of the quads are clearly divided, and even though she has big adductors like Derek, unlike Derek, they actually still have detail and hardness. Even Andrea's midsection has vibrant muscle and detail, not just a vacuum combined with tumorous lats. This may sound like I'm a Derek hater, which which I am, but I'm not really trying to be when I say that pound for pound, I actually prefer Andrea's pose. It's just what I prefer. He would auto-win an open because of his size, but as Dorian Yates says,
a bag of shit that gets bigger is just a bigger bag of shit.
And that's just it. The quantity debate has a clear answer, but the quality debate has an even clearer one. And that's why I vastly prefer Miss Olympia in this pose. Let's talk a little about the side chest now. Not that there's much to say, but there are some things to point out. Obviously, the divide between men and women's bodybuilding is clearest in a pose like this. However, there are still some quality control issues on Derek's side. The side leg, although usually one of his best spots, wasn't at its best at this Olympia. Yet again, pound for pound, I actually prefer Miss Olympia. She has the deeper quad and ham separation, and she maintains her hardness and separation from the knee all the way to the glute. And she even has some feathering. I actually prefer her in the upper limb too. Yes, Derek is huge, but he's still kind of puffy. Andrea has separation between all three muscle groups here, and the muscle itself just seems to pop more. Overall, Derek does have a good pose here. I actually do like his side chest, but I definitely would like to see some changes made, and I think it's been better in the past. Oh, and by the way, not only does Andrea mog Derek in height, probably, but very clearly the jawline too. I mean, a double chin on the Olympia stage is crazy.
You're a fucking clown. You look like one.
I'm gonna be honest, Andrea impresses me more than Derek in the rear double.
You fucking prick.
Maybe it's because I'm used to seeing Derek now, but Andrea is cooking over there in women's bodybuilding. Those lats on her are killer. The overall Christmas tree region is insane, and this is just a thought I had. Does anyone have a Christmas tree like this in the rear double in open bodybuilding? Nick is pretty good. Tonio can hit a good one when he pulls back, but Andrea in the actual pose is crazy. The lats are really thick and still striated even in the pose itself, and the lower back isn't holding water like you see in so many guys in open. And speaking of striations, turn your attention to those arms and delts. Because of the sheer amount of gear use and maybe even SEO use, you probably don't see shoulders like that very often. Anyway, on the Derek side of things, he has his usual wild back thickness and width, but I miss the finer etchings and graininess I get from Andrea's pose. Even in one of his more conditioned areas, Andrea still hasn't beat on quality. Now in the lower half, Derek finally beats her on details somewhere, that being the glutes, and fair point to him, his glutes are honestly some of the best ever besides San Mareas's. There is something to be said about the overall look to the skin and the muscle quality in the lower half though. Derek might be more conditioned, but Andrea's muscle and skin quality is still really good downstairs. Overall, I know Derek's pose is crazy, but there are some things about Andrea's back that are just jaw-dropping. I took a personal stance in the last pose. I said I preferred Andrea in the rear double, but to be honest, pound for pound, she's just straight up better than Derek in the rear lat spread. Derek is a blob. His back is thick and full, but too full. There is no meaningful separation in his back. Andrea has an anatomy chart for her back. Everything from the rear delts, rhomboids, to the traps and erectors are all separated yet still tie in with each other flawlessly. And overall, she has some great thickness and width too. Again, even in his best poses, Derek lacks that extra level of quality of his peers and even Miss Olympia. And finally, we have the last pose we'll look at today, and you know, like with any comparison with Derek, we have to take a look at the abs and thighs. Derek's face just gets me every time. The pain in his eyes is palpable. Now firstly, I want to mention that this is the same stage on the same night for each athlete. This is both of them on Friday night, night 1 of the show, which is Miss Olympia Finals and Men's Open Prejudging. With that said, I thought it would be interesting to line up the elements of the stage and see what the height difference is in that case. As you can see, the under part of the screen and the carpet of the stage are pretty lined up between these two athletes' photos. And sure, it is not perfect because they're standing on slightly different parts of the stage, but even then, if this is correct or anywhere close to correct, this is just brutal. Andrea looks to be at least 1 to 2 inches taller than Derek, and that's accounting for the posing and posture differences. But anyway, obviously they're taking different approaches to this pose. For Andrea, we get a more artistic shot, and from Derek, we get a more autistic one. But with Andrea, we still get feathers in the quads, and she's not even flexing them for maximum potential. The foot placement is to make the shot look good more than anything. Same with the abs. She's not fully crunching down, yet you still see separation all the way around each individual abdominal muscle. I don't even know what the hell is wrong with Derek. I've thought about this for going on 3 years now, and I cannot figure out for the life of me why his abs look like that. They look great in the off-season, better than on stage actually, but once he competes, they just look like utter dog shit. The entire torso is really blocky too. Without his vacuum, you'll notice that he actually has a pretty wide waist. Now these two shots probably are the least comparable out of the bunch because of the difference in the execution, but yeah, I still end up preferring Andrea. Really, Derek's shot just speaks for itself. Alright, now we've reached the part of the video where I usually give the final scores and some concluding thoughts. Well, today we have no final scores, and honestly barely any thoughts as well. I mean, this was just a fun comparison. I'm sure some of you are asking why even do this video. Some of you are probably even calling it disrespectful to either athlete, I'm sure. Well, if I have any point that I'm trying to make, it's that I'm trying to prove how bad a champion Derek is. Furthermore, I want to say and try to prove with this video that the IFBB thinks you're an idiot and Derek is being propped up. But that's kind of the point with every video about Derek. But this video's thesis, if you will, is Derek is lacking too much quality to be Mr. Olympia. With a champion like Andrea, you get a vibrant physique. The muscle is full in 3D, separation and details can be found in and between every muscle group, and overall you just have a physique with more life and polish to it. Derek looked like a wet paper bag at this event, especially on night 2. I mean really, once you take the glutes out of the equation, who do you really think has the better condition overall? The fact that we're even having this discussion is hilarious. I mean, Derek can even out-condition a biologically inferior physique. Again, no disrespect.
You fucking prick.
Really, this should be a layup for Derek. I'm not saying Andrea as a person or athlete is inferior, but hey, she is a woman.
What an asshole this guy is.
Conditioning does not come as naturally to a female physique, but Derek still looks like melted ice cream next to her. And again, do not get it twisted. I'm not saying Andrea has an inferior physique pound for pound. I'm just saying she has inferior tools compared to Derek with which to work with. Really, I actually think she has the superior physique, I'll just say it. And just a side note, do you think we'd be having this quality debate if we put Andrew, Hottie, Martin, hell, even Nick Walker against Andrea today? I highly doubt it. Hell, I don't even think we'd have the same issue with someone like Good Vito doing this matchup. And he was back there in 10th. He stands a better chance of outclassing any physique, a physique like Andrea's especially, than Derek does. Overall, it has to be said that Derek is big. Again, if Andrea and him competed in men's open, Derek would win, no doubt. But as a physique, Derek is disgusting. He's big, but at what cost? The legs look weird, the arms look even weirder, and make my eyes water sometimes, and the rest of the physique is a soupy mess. I'm all for mass monsters. I think open bodybuilding should push size, that's what I watch it for, but Derek is just a giant ball of clay compared to Andrew, Hottie, Martin, and yes, even Andrea, who is a fully finished sculpture. To repeat the bit from earlier, Dorian did say it best.
Those things I don't believe about the Second World War because I've done my research.
Anyway though, enough about Derek. This video was made to rag on him and to prove that the open division by far has the worst champion right now. But I have to be honest, as someone who doesn't even watch women's bodybuilding, Andrea has a great physique. I have to give her props. The quality difference between these two is insane. Honestly, Andrea kinda reminds me of those physiques from the very, very early 90s. This was the time in bodybuilding where guys finally started figuring out modern day condition, but they still had the great lines from the 80s and 70s with even more completeness. And the thing is, if you take a look at some of these physiques, you'll realize that a lot of these guys hardly weighed more than $180. Back then, you saw vibrant 3D muscle, good condition, and just enough size to make these guys look larger than life. I'm not saying Andrea Shaw beats your favorite 90s bodybuilder. All I'm saying is that her physique just reminds you of what some would call better times. Now, I like the modern era, hell, I love it, and I always defend it. All of those guys from the 90s wouldn't be able to hold up against guys from the 2000s, 2010s, and even 2020s guys. But what we have at the helm of our sport right now is an outlier. Derek is not indicative of the quality we have in the open division. This has just gotta stop, period. Derek satisfies neither the standards of old, nor does he push the envelope for today's standards. He's just painfully dull and shouldn't be the one representing his class. If this video proved anything today, it's that as a fan, you do not have to settle for this. Every other division right now has a great champion. Why can't open bodybuilding? I just hope the IFBB stops rewarding this kind of stuff. Me, you, us as fans, hell, the sport of bodybuilding itself, the pursuit of human perfection itself deserves better. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. This was just in good fun, but I think I was able to prove a decent enough point here. But what do you guys think, and who do you prefer? Let me know your thoughts to whatever hell this video was down in the comments. And if you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And if you guys want to get your hands on some high quality supplements while supporting my channel even further, head over to Arms Race Nutrition. Then at checkout, be sure to use my code Project10 to get 10% off your entire order. That's code Project10 at armsracenutrition.com. And finally, with all that said, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.
Okay, thanks.